Have you ever noticed that you're always the first person people call when their world falls apart? You've become the midnight therapist, the emotional dumping ground, the invisible helper. You patiently listen, you offer comfort, you carry burdens. But when you finally hang up the phone, who is there for you? Nobody. You lie awake, exhausted, emptied, filled only with the echoes of other people's chaos. They sleep well after offloading onto you, but your restlessness has only just begun. And I wonder, is it because you're too kind or because you're too afraid to say no? They call it compassion, but deep down, you know it's fear. Fear of rejection, fear of abandonment, fear that saying no means losing love, losing connection, losing your worth in their eyes. But here's the cold truth you've always known, but never faced. You are not their savior. You are not their emotional sponge. You never signed up to carry everyone else's pain. Yet here you are, drowning in stories you never lived, in wounds you didn't create, in emotions that were never yours to begin with. So let me ask you clearly, openly, unapologetically, aren't you tired? Tired of being the person who's always available? The one who never complains, never refuses, always smiling, always comforting. Your kindness should never become your cage. This video isn't just about recognizing you're emotionally drained. It's about understanding why, about reclaiming your peace, about finally building boundaries, because you deserve better than being someone else's emotional landfill. And today could be the day you finally free yourself. You may have asked yourself, why is it always me? Why is it that whenever your friends, family, or partner feel down or face difficulties, you are always the first person they turn to? Why do you always seem to be the gentlest, the most understanding, the best listener? The reason is not complicated, but the truth is far more brutal than you might think. You have become the container for other people's emotions, not because you are stronger, not because you are wiser. In fact, the reason you have become an emotional dumping ground is because of the deep fears and voids within you, which have turned you into a sponge constantly absorbing the negative emotions of others. Carl Jung clearly described a psychological mechanism called projection. Projection means that people tend to place the emotions and shadows they cannot face onto someone else. When your friends complain about life, when your partner continually releases their anxiety, they are, in fact, projecting their unprocessed pain, confusion, and fear onto you. You think you are healing them, but in reality, you are simply carrying their burdens for them. When you are overly sensitive and overly empathetic, you are essentially sending out a dangerous signal to the world. My boundaries are wide open. I will unconditionally accept your negative emotions. This over-empathy, which may appear to be a virtue, is actually driven by your deepest needs and fears. You crave recognition so much that you are willing to pay any price for it, even if it means trading away your mental health. Jung referred to this unprocessed part of the self, hidden deep within, as the shadow. Inside your shadow hides a voice that whispers, if I refuse them, will I seem cold? If I don't respond right away, will I lose their approval? If I no longer give unconditionally, will they still love me? It is precisely these voices that continually push you to sacrifice yourself, again and again, ignoring your own emotional boundaries. But the cost of this is heavy. What you are giving away is your inner peace, your energy, your happiness, and even your self-respect and self-love. You have built a fully accessible emotional landfill for everyone, yet no one has ever taught you how to clear the garbage piled up inside your own heart. Over time, you have forgotten how to listen to your own voice, how to take care of your own feelings, how to protect your own boundaries. Because when you focus too much on the emotions of others, you lose the ability to connect with your own. So allow me to gently remind you, true kindness does not mean unlimited sacrifice and self-consumption. True empathy is built on the foundation of healthy boundaries and self-respect. And remember this, you think you are healing others, but in reality, you are only carrying their burdens. It always starts innocently enough. Your phone lights up, a message arrives. Hey, can we talk? I'm really struggling right now. It's late, you're tired. But you reply instantly, of course, what's wrong? Because that's what you do, isn't it? You open your heart, your time, your energy to anyone who needs it. And soon, it becomes a pattern. You spend entire evenings absorbing your friend's relationship drama, hours listening patiently as a family member vents about their work, days quietly nodding, while a coworker complains about the same problems they refuse to change. Every time, you say to yourself, it's okay, they need me, I can't let them down. But the moment the conversation ends, you're left alone, staring at the ceiling in emotional exhaustion, wondering why no one ever stops to ask about your day, your dreams, or your struggles. Slowly, you start to notice something that hurts. These conversations are never balanced. When you finally share something about yourself, the response is vague, uninterested, dismissive. You'll be fine, they say. You're strong. You always are. And just like that, the conversation returns to them, leaving you feeling invisible, unheard. Bit by bit, you find yourself avoiding mirrors, not because you dislike your reflection, but because you can barely recognize the weary, drained person staring back. Your soul feels heavy with second-hand worries, your chest tight from carrying burdens that aren't yours to carry. You've become an emotional landfill, a safe dumping ground for problems others refuse to handle themselves. You have quietly accepted a role nobody asked you to play, and now you don't know how to stop. The harsh truth is, you give the world understanding, but the world never truly understands you. And deep down, this breaks your heart, because you know that you deserve more. You deserve to be heard, valued, cherished. You deserve conversations that leave you feeling seen, not spent. So, let me ask you again, clearly, directly, and honestly. Aren't you tired of being everyone's emotional dumping ground? Because today could be the day you decide finally to reclaim your own voice. But let me ask you something important. Something perhaps nobody has ever asked you before. What if your endless kindness isn't really kindness at all? What if your constant availability, your limitless patience, your habit of absorbing everyone else's emotional baggage isn't generosity, but a subtle form of self-abandonment? Take a moment and let that sink in, because perhaps, deep inside, you've always known it. Carl Jung called it the journey of individuation, the transformative process of becoming your true self, distinct from what everyone else expects or demands of you. It's not an easy journey, because it begins with confronting a painful truth. You've been sacrificing your psychic energy, your inner strength, your true essence, to maintain relationships built on imbalance. Jung explained clearly, your psychic energy is finite. Every thought, every feeling, every emotional interaction consumes a part of you. When you allow others to repeatedly unload their unresolved emotions onto you, without boundaries or self-care, you're not being compassionate. You're simply depleting your vital life force. The world praises you for your endless empathy, but nobody sees the hidden cost you pay. Nobody sees how much your spirit is weakened, how your emotional reserves have been drained to nearly nothing. Here's the deeper truth you've been avoiding. You haven't been giving from abundance. You've been giving from emptiness. Your emotional generosity wasn't coming from a healthy place, but from fear. Fear of rejection, fear of loneliness, fear that without constant giving, you'd no longer be valuable. But this is exactly why you're here now, listening to this message. Because today can be your turning point, the moment you consciously choose to step off the draining path and start the journey back to your true self. Yes, setting boundaries will feel uncomfortable at first. Yes, some people will accuse you of being cold, distant, changed. But the price you'll pay for remaining an emotional landfill is infinitely higher. It's your very self. So remember this clearly and carry it close to your heart. The moment you stop being an emotional dumping ground for others is the exact moment your true freedom begins. Let this truth guide you. Let it remind you that true connection never demands your self-sacrifice. It demands balance. It demands respect. And above all, it demands that you finally see your own worth clearly enough to say no when no is needed. Have you ever paused long enough to wonder, where exactly did this pattern begin? When did you first learn to put everyone else's needs before your own? The truth might lie deeper than you imagined. To fully understand why you've become everyone's emotional dumping ground, you must journey back to a much earlier time. Back to your childhood, back to when your emotional patterns first took shape. Carl Jung introduced a profound idea called the persona, the psychological mask you wear to be accepted by the world. It's the mask of the good child, the understanding friend, the reliable partner. But beneath that mask lies the deeper wound, the quiet hurt, a child who learned very early that love had conditions. Maybe it started when you realized your parents only praised you when you were obedient, helpful, quiet. Maybe you learned early to suppress your true emotions, to hide your struggles, to become easy to love by never causing trouble. You were rewarded for your silence, praised for your willingness to absorb stress, admired for being selfless. Without realizing it, society was slowly, quietly shaping you into the ideal emotional caretaker. Someone who always says yes, someone who rarely questions, someone whose boundaries don't exist. Because let's face it, society loves the pleasers. It loves people who don't complain, who don't challenge the system, who don't make anyone uncomfortable. You've internalized this social praise deeply. Every smile, every nod, every sacrifice has subconsciously been an attempt to win approval, to feel seen, to feel loved. But here's the heartbreaking truth hidden beneath the surface. You please the entire world, only to fill the emptiness that has never been healed inside of you. The irony is painful. You've mastered the art of listening to others, yet you've forgotten how to listen to yourself. The constant pressure to perform, to never disappoint, to always appear okay. All of it feeds your persona, but starves your soul. So now you're left exhausted, silently wondering, how much longer can I keep this up? How long before I completely lose myself? Recognize clearly that this pattern was never your fault. You didn't choose these wounds. but healing them is entirely your choice. Understanding the roots of your pleasing behavior, the fear of abandonment, the craving for acceptance, the pressure of society, is the first courageous step towards transformation. When you see clearly how you've been shaped, you gain the power to reshape yourself. This awareness won't erase your past, but it will illuminate your future. It will give you strength to say, enough. From now on, I refuse to abandon myself in order to please others. And that's when real healing begins. Now that you understand why you became an emotional dumping ground, let's discuss clearly and practically how you can begin protecting your energy. Because recognizing the problem is crucial, but only action creates change. Carl Jung emphasized a concept called psychic energy protection, the essential practice of consciously choosing where your emotional and mental resources go. The first step in this practice is learning how to identify emotional vampires clearly and without guilt. These are the individuals who consistently drain your energy without ever giving back. They're the friends who call only when they're in crisis, the family members who offload endless complaints, the colleagues who expect constant emotional support, yet rarely offer it in return. They rarely ask, "How are you?" sincerely. Their conversations are one-sided, their problems always urgent, their needs always more pressing than your own. So, how do you practically protect your psychic energy? Step 1. Start paying close attention to how you feel after interactions. Do you feel refreshed and heard? Or do you feel drained, invisible, exhausted? Your emotions are signals. Listen closely. Step 2. Practice gentle but firm boundary setting. Use phrases like, "I'm sorry, I can't talk right now. I'm not available to listen to this today. I need some space right now. Let's talk later." Saying these phrases might feel uncomfortable at first. You might fear seeming uncaring or distant. But remember, setting boundaries doesn't make you selfish. It makes you responsible. Step 3. Give yourself permission not to immediately respond. Just because your phone buzzes doesn't mean you owe anyone an immediate reply. Take your time. Pause. Breathe. Assess your emotional capacity before engaging. Step 4. Dedicate specific time to recharge. Spend moments alone, disconnected from devices and demands, to restore your emotional energy. Your psychic energy isn't infinite, needs careful maintenance and rest. Because here's a powerful truth you must never forget. Your kindness deserves to be cherished, not exploited. When you consciously protect your emotional resources, you communicate clearly to others that your kindness isn't limitless, your empathy isn't unconditional, and your emotional availability isn't guaranteed. Those who truly value you will respect these boundaries. Those who don't simply reveal themselves clearly as people who never truly cared about you, only about what you provided. Real connection isn't defined by how much you can endure, but by mutual respect and balance. It's time you learned to put your own peace first, because you deserve emotional exchanges that fill you with warmth and energy, not drain you to the point of emptiness. And remember, every boundary you set is a powerful act of self-respect. Each small step brings you closer to reclaiming your authentic self. Let's be honest, setting boundaries will not feel comfortable at first. When you finally gather the courage to say no, something inside you might break open. You might feel immediate guilt, a sudden fear of rejection, or an anxious voice whispering that you've done something wrong. People will react strongly at first. They'll ask, "What's wrong with you? You've changed. You used to be nicer." At this moment, loneliness may set in, because for the first time, you're realizing clearly that many relationships in your life were held together only by your endless willingness to accommodate others. Initially, rejection feels like isolation. You might sit in silence, wondering if you made a mistake. You might find yourself tempted to reach out, to apologize, to revert back to your old pattern. But pause, breathe, and remember, this discomfort is exactly what growth feels like. Carl Jung famously said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." This initial pain, this lonely silences, the darkness becoming conscious. It's your emotional detox, your psychological rebirth. The short-term emotional turbulence you're feeling right now is the necessary price you pay to reclaim your inner freedom. And soon, something extraordinary begins to happen. You start noticing the silence is no longer terrifying, but healing. The loneliness isn't empty. It gives room for your true self to breathe. Slowly, you begin rediscovering your own desires, your own voice, your own worth. Because here's a truth you must always remember clearly: growth always comes with loneliness. And saying no is the first step toward your emotional maturity. Yes, some relationships will fade away, but those meant to stay will grow stronger, deeper, truer. Most importantly, you'll rebuild a relationship you've long neglected, the one with yourself. There comes a moment, after the guilt fades and the silence no longer feels heavy, when you realize something profound. You are no longer playing the role that others wrote for you. You are no longer a background character in other people's dramas. You have stepped fully into your own story. Carl Jung called this stage the integration of the self, the culmination of the individuation process. It's the point where all the fragmented parts of you, the giver, the pleaser, the caretaker, the silenced child, finally come together into one whole, authentic being. And in this integration, you make a powerful discovery. You were never meant to be an emotional landfill. You were meant to be the master of your own inner world. You no longer absorb every storm around you. You no longer measure your worth by how much pain you can carry for others. Instead, you protect your peace like sacred ground. You choose which battles are worth your energy. You speak only when your voice adds value, and you give only from a place of true abundance. This is not coldness. This is sovereignty, because the people who truly value you will never demand that you diminish yourself to meet their needs. They will respect the boundaries you've built, and they will meet you in a place of mutual care. And those who cannot, they will simply drift away, revealing they were never here for you, only for what you could give them. Now, you understand the real truth. When you become the master of your own emotions, the entire world begins to respect you. You are no longer afraid of being misunderstood, because you finally understand yourself. You are no longer terrified of losing people, because you have found yourself. And in this quiet strength, you realize you were never meant to carry the world. You were meant to carry your own light. You've seen the truth now. You are not here to be everyone's therapist. You are not a bottomless well of patience, a dumping ground for pain that was never yours. You are here to protect your peace to guard your energy, to live as the master of your own emotions. Remember this clearly. Your kindness deserves to be cherished, not exploited. When you become the master of your emotions, the entire world begins to respect you. And now, it's your turn. Take this moment to declare it openly. If you are done being someone's emotional landfill, if you are ready to protect your heart and your energy, write in the comments, "I choose to protect myself." Let the world see how many of us have chosen freedom. Your journey starts now, and it starts with one powerful no.